A bizarre acid attack. It's caught on video, and now a local business is really frustrated. The CBS 2 News team is here, and the Fontana vandalism is our top story. Two vandals damaged dozens of cars at a dealership, and tonight they are on the run. CBS 2's Stacey Butler is live in Fontana with the search for the suspects. Stacey.
Well, Pat, these are just some of the trucks right here behind me that were targeted in what Fontana police are calling the worst act of vandalism they've ever seen. Who would do something like this? Well, that's the big question tonight. The dealership says that they bend over backwards to make sure that customers leave happy, and they can't think of any possible disgruntled employees. Tonight, police want you to take a good look at this video. Around 3 o'clock Tuesday morning, security cameras caught this man armed with possibly a pump sprayer shooting an acid-like substance on dozens of new trucks at the Pacific Auto Center in Fontana.
Whatever they're spraying on our vehicles, and the damage is quite severe.
General Manager Julio Ortiz says seconds later, security cameras caught another vandal with a sprayer, possibly a woman. He says he can't believe 91 trucks and cars are so badly damaged. Some will have to be sold at auction.
It just seems like somebody really went out of their way to hurt our business, to hurt our customers as well. And it's very shameful that people out there have these type of intentions. I don't think there's any excuse or reason why anybody would feel a need to do something like this.
Ortiz says the substance peeled paint off and burned through plastic headlights. The worst damage was to this $90,000 Lincoln Navigator. He says it will cost more than $10,000 to fix. The dealership has seen vandalism, but nothing like this. They're hoping police catch the vandals.
This can't continue to happen. This happened to us, it can happen to us again, but it could also happen to somebody else. And we don't want these kind of people thinking this is okay, let alone thinking they could get away with it.
Now, the dealership had 2 security guards working here overnight when this happened. They have now added patrols. Meanwhile, police are asking if you have any information to contact the Fontana Police Department. Pat?
All right, thank you, Stacey. That is bizarre indeed. Now tonight, firefighters are gaining the upper hand on the Portola fire in Benedict Canyon. Crews now have the brush fire 40% contained after it burned close to 40 acres. The fire began between Portola and Yoakum Drives east of Benedict Canyon Drive. And CBS 2's Jeff Nguyen is live now with an update. Jeff.
Pat, this is Mulholland Drive, and as you can see, it is closed off right now. The reason is because the fire department wants to keep it cleared for all of its equipment. Now, if you live in this area, you are allowed to go in and out of here, but you have to have your ID with you. Tonight, families returned home after evacuation alerts and road closures were lifted in the Portola fire. After more than 200 firefighters aggressively attacked the flames along with a team of water and retardant dropping aircraft. This evening, this man in the red plaid shirt told us he was using a weed whacker to clear brush on Portola Drive in the Benedict Canyon area when he accidentally sparked the fire. The LAPD says the accident does not appear criminal. This is cell phone video Mauricio Caceres captured of the start of the fire. He was at a nearby home when the contract worker ran over.
He was running down and said, "It's a fire in the house."
The flames quickly raced through one of LA's most exclusive neighborhoods. 2 firefighters had to be treated for non-life-threatening injuries while working in the rough terrain where wildlife butts right up to homes. The fire department says we had a lot of rain early this year, which allowed grass to grow. But that has since turned into dry brush with the recent heat.
And we also need to plant and maintain trees because they're the ones that are catching fire because of the drought, they're getting sick and they're dying off.
The LAPD says the worker who caused the fire wasn't licensed to clear brush. It's a reminder how good intentions can be dangerous when it's done in the afternoon, which is what Mauricio Caceres witnessed when he had to step in to help.
And I put the sprinkler to a couple houses because I do landscaping.
The man who told us he accidentally started the fire says he's not sure how his weed whacker sparked the flames. In the meantime, the fire department says it is keeping about 200 of its members in this area overnight to keep watch of all of the homes here. For now, Pat,
We'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks for that, Jeff. Now, another fire in Chino burned 120 acres earlier today. It was sparked by a car fire on the 71 freeway. Fire crews made quick work of putting out the flames. No one was hurt and no structures were damaged. Just minutes away, Garth Kemp times out your hot forecast. And a babysitter is under arrest, accused of leaving a 6-year-old locked in a hot car. Well, she ran errands and ate at a restaurant today. Alhambra police say the car was a sweltering 120 degrees. The boy was taken to the hospital. The suspect, Helen Law, is scheduled to appear in court on Thursday. And developing news in Santa Monica. People love the convenience of renting electric scooters and zipping around town. But many riders are dumping the e-scooters all over the city, which is causing a lot of frustration. And tonight, dozens of people took their complaints to the city council. CBS 2's Crystal Cruz is live in Santa Monica. Crystal.
Hi, Pat. 55 people spoke to City Council tonight about these scooters right here, how it works. You pick one up. They're left almost all over the city. You pick one up and you use your cell phone with an app, and then you can take it away. And tonight, City Council is deciding whether or not to move forward with a pilot program.
It's just not going to be a happy summer if we don't fix this.
Some people living in Santa Monica are mad about dockless electric scooters left around the city, sometimes in the middle of sidewalks or at the beach. And dangerous scooter habits like texting and scooting and multiple riders using one scooter also concerns people.
I'm begging you to do something between now and September with the people riding without helmets and on the sidewalks.
According to staff, right now a company named Bird has 1,500 e-scooters in the city, and another company named Lime has an undisclosed number out there.
The e-scooters has affected our neighborhood. The dockless approach, which has left these things parked willy-nilly all over the place.
The city's mobility team recommended to City Council Tuesday night a pilot program that would allow a cap of 2,500 e-scooters on the streets, operated by 3 companies. Supporters of e-scooters rallied in front of City Hall carrying signs that say cap CO2, not scooters.
As I estimate, I've ridden over 70 miles on scooters for meetings, errands, and for leisure. That equates to 0.03 metric tons of CO2 that I did not release in the atmosphere.
What's really going to be the job of the city of Santa Monica is to figure out if you guys are going to be on board and really be a pioneer for this new last mile transport.
And these scooters are very popular. Tonight, 3 people asked to borrow this scooter right here, but it is not charged, so the company will need to pick it up and charge it before people can start using it. City leaders inside City Hall right now still discussing this pilot program. I'm Crystal Cruz, live in Santa Monica tonight. Back to you, Pat, in the studio.
All right, thanks for that, Crystal. Now, an actor claims sheriff's deputies racially profiled him, and now he's taking legal action. Darius Love was arrested in Glendale after a burglary turned high-speed chase ended in a manhunt for 3 African-American suspects. Love says he was shopping at the Americana at Brand with his girlfriend. He says he was running from the Apple store to his car in the parking lot when he was detained.
I immediately said, you know what, I better slow down and not run because there's obviously a lot of police here. And the split second that I did that, the police were already behind me, said, freeze before we blow your head off.
Love was detained for 7 hours. He is now suing the Glendale Police Department and LA County Sheriff's Department. In a statement, the LA County Sheriff's Department said, Mr. Love closely resembled the individual who left the scene of the burglary. Further investigation ultimately determined that Mr. Love was not in any way involved in the residential burglary, and he was immediately released. Now, President Trump continues his victory tour aboard Air Force One after the Singapore summit, but skeptics are crashing the party, saying the outcome was short on specifics. CBS 2 political reporter Dave Bryan has reaction from both sides tonight.
And Pat, you know, the question a lot of people are asking tonight is, did President Trump take Kim Jong-un's lunch, or was it the other way around? Right? We don't quite know yet, but we'll figure it out. Tonight, the debate over yesterday's Singapore summit is heating up. Critics charge the one-page declaration is so vague and non-binding that North Korea could get away with murder. But President Trump says the summit is the beginning of a process leading to a no-nukes North Korea. On the long flight home from Singapore this evening, President Trump had plenty of time to tweet, and he took full advantage, firing off a long series of tweets celebrating and defending the accomplishments of the summit. The world has taken a big step back from potential nuclear catastrophe, he tweeted. No more rocket launches, nuclear testing, or research.
A lot of goodwill went into this, a lot of work.
At the end of a day-long summit, Trump and Kim signed a joint statement that called for better relations, peace between the two Koreas, and denuclearization. Meanwhile, President Trump has agreed to end what he calls war games with South Korea. Lawmakers agree the president is now responsible for the outcome of the agreement.
He has put his entire presidency on the line here. So if he capitulates, if North Korea backs out of a deal, if they cheat and he does nothing about it, that's going to be the end of his foreign policy.
And some are leery of the U.S. working with Kim Jong-un.
Working with him is like trying to hand feed a shark. You can do it, but you have to do it very, very carefully.
At his news conference before leaving Singapore, President Trump was asked what he would do if it turns out that Kim Jong-un doesn't follow through with his promises.
I may be wrong. I mean, I may stand before you in 6 months and say, hey, I was wrong. I don't know that I'll ever admit that, but I'll find some kind of an excuse.
Now, in North Korea, the state news agency there reported that when President Trump called off U.S. military exercises with South Korea, he was conceding to Kim Jong-un's demands. The state-run newspaper hailed the Singapore summit as the meeting of the century. Pat, I think we know how they feel about it, huh?
I think we do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Well, splitting California into 3 states. It could happen thanks to a special ballot measure. That story's still ahead. Plus this.
Sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night, and like you have like these cravings. You just want in and out.
Doubling down on getting a double-double. One city's intense campaign to get an in-and-out.
Hey, everybody. I'm Garth, kept out by the airport. Wow. Warm day today. We'll have your forecasts coming up.
And here's a look at the guests tonight on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.